Hey there guys, EctoMaster here. We are back with more Heroes Tuesday, and this week we are finishing up the double hero spotlights with Uther the Lightbringer, another melee support, as you saw in the last video. If you watched the last video, if you did.
I'm not so young anymore, Sonny. Can we get this moving along?
I'm working on it. Shut it, punk. Uther the Lightbringer, ladies and gentlemen. Paladin. Pain in the ass. Anyways, so we're going to take a look at Uther. We're going to look at his skins, his abilities, his talents, and we'll look at a build while we're looking at those said talents. And then at the end, I'm going to roll out my phone with the RPG roller and roll with what I have left of the heroes that I have left. And we're going to pick one of those, and that's the one we're going to feature next week. Maybe as well as one of the ones that I don't have, like Rhaegar or Zeratul. Those literally are the only two that I don't have for next week. I'm not kidding. That's like, I have 3 more besides Uther, and after that, I might be able to do Rhaegar next week.
I'm not so young anymore, Sonny. Can we get this moving along?
You also like to use the same jokes over and over again, so shut it. Anyways, here is his base skin. Of course, based off of his, I believe, mostly his Warcraft 3 look. He's got the 2 different looks to it as well. Just not going to do a full turn. That was kind of cool, almost like a evil. His master skin, which again is great because it pretty much keeps the look from here. So if you do that, it's not a huge change from the other. So that's pretty cool. Then there's Lumberjack Uther, which is Uther as a lumberjack.
The Paladins are the backbone of the Alliance. Surely you require my expertise.
Maybe I do. He's a lumberjack, and he is okay. So there he is. And this is probably my favorite. It is Medic Uther. Uther if he was a medic in StarCraft 2. So that is just awesome. I love the look of this skin. It is themed abilities, so he doesn't have like regular Uther abilities. They are medic themed abilities, so that is really cool. I like that. It is $9.99. It's one that to keep an eye on. I definitely will, because that's just an awesome looking skin. Now that we have that, let's go ahead and head back to the play so we can kind of see what Uther looks like, his abilities and his talents. So starting right off, QWE, he has Holy Light. Congratulations. If you played World of Warcraft, you know exactly what this is. It's a 90 mana cost, a 12-second cooldown, heal an ally for X health. Holy Radiance, again, if you played WoW. It's a 65 mana cost with a 12-second cooldown, heal all allies for X health, dealing X damage to enemies. And then Hammer of Justice, 50 mana cost, 10-second cooldown, deal X damage and stun the target for 1 second. His trait is Eternal Devotion. I thought it was Devotation. Upon dying, become an invulnerable spirit for up to 10 seconds. While in spirit form, you can heal allies with Flash of Light. And then his Heroic. So that's really kind of OP a little bit, but it's pretty nice. It's pretty nice. And then he annoys everybody as he runs around. You can't kill me. Then his 2 heroics, Divine Shield. It's a 100 mana cost with a 70-second cooldown. Make an allied hero invulnerable and increase their movement speed by 20% for 3 seconds. And then Divine Storm, another 100 mana cost with an 80-second cooldown, deal X damage and stun nearby enemies for 1.5 seconds. So now that we've looked at his abilities, we need to take a look at the talents. And we have a build to look at, of course. This is from Seraphic Fire. It is called Not Gonna Die, the Uther General Healing Guide. So we'll look at this. So right off the bat, there is one, basically, well, 2. You have 2 that you can pick from that are Uther Basic. The other 2, Conjurer's Pursuit, and Block are ones we see with other characters. Block we see mainly more with warriors than we do with support. But he's got Block on there too, I guess. Anyways, there's Reach, increases the range of Holy Light and Flash of Light by 40%. And then Fist of Justice, basic attacks reduce cooldown of Hammer of Justice by 1 second. But for this build, it is a healing build, so they recommend to go Conjurer's Pursuit. Collecting regeneration globes permanently increases mana regeneration by 0.1 per second. So that can be very good for a healer. At level 4, you have 3 that are basically, or well, 2 that are basically, again, Uther based, and then the other 2 are not. We'll look at the Uther based, and then we'll look at the one that's, of course, the build recommend. So you have Boundless Conviction, increases the width and length of Holy Radiance by 40%. Hammer of the Lightbringer, basic attacks will also restore mana, restore X mana. It says 8 mana, but it probably increases as he levels. And then Protective Shield. The barking dog kind of threw me off a little bit. I'm sorry, guys. It's like, because the dog barked, and I'm like, what time was it so that I can look into doing it? Protective Shield is the one that they recommend with this build. Cooldown 60 seconds. It's an activation one, so you have to, click a button. It'll be 1. Activate to shield an allied hero for 15% of their max health for 5 seconds. At level 7, you have, 2. There you go. Maybe 3. Wave of Light. Each hero healed by Holy Radiance returns 10 mana and reduces the cooldown by 1 second, or X mana, up to a maximum of 50 mana and 5 seconds. Burden of Guilt. After Hammer of Justice's stun fades, the enemy's movement speed is slowed by 30% for 2 seconds. Holy Fire, deal X damage per second to nearby enemies. It's a passive. But for this build, again, we're sticking with healing, so it says to go with Cleanse. It's a cooldown of 30 seconds. You activate to remove all stuns, roots, silences, and slows from the target, and reduce the duration of their reapplication by 50% for 2 seconds. At level 10, it says to go with Divine Shield. At level 13, you have Blessed Champion. After using Holy Light, your next basic attack heals nearby allied heroes for 30% of the healing amount. Holy Shock is another Holy Light one. Holy Light can be used on an enemy to do 50% of its healing amount as damage, and with 4 seconds less cooldown. So, kind of like, kind of like in Warcraft 3. But for the build, they recommend to go with Shrink Ray. It's another activate for 60 seconds, cooldown. Activate to reduce an enemy hero's damage by 50%, and movement speed by 50% for 4 seconds. I think it also shrinks them. So, comical. Level 16. You have Gathering Radiance, increases damage by 10% for each enemy hit up to 100%. Hardened Focus, while above 80% life, your basic ability cooldowns regenerate 50% faster. But for this build, it says to go with Benediction. Cooldown of 40 seconds, activate to reduce the mana cost of your next basic ability by 50%, and its cooldown by 10 seconds. Last but not least, for this build, again, if you look at this, none of these besides his heroic were the, any of his. The heroic was his, and even this one is not his. And it says to go with Redemption. After Eternal Devotion ends, return to 50% of your maximum health at your spirit's location. This effect has an 180 second cooldown, so it becomes a trait. If you decided to stay with level 10, Divine Shield, you also have Bulwark of Light. Divine Shield lasts 2 seconds longer, and its cooldown is reduced by 20 seconds. If you decided to go with Divine Shield and... I got that right? Yeah, Divine Storm, I'm sorry. Oh my god, no, come back. If you decided to go with Divine Storm, you have Divine Hurricane. Divine Storm's radius is increased by 50%, and its cooldown is reduced by 20 seconds. So there you have it, guys. That is Uther, the Lightbringer, another melee support. We took a look earlier today at, oh god, what was his name? Karazim, the newest melee support, and the only one for Diablo. Now, that being said, we are down to the final 3. It is either going to be Illidan, Muradin, or Sonya. That's who we're going to be looking at. I think next week, because I think they've already kind of leaked who's going to be the, Oh, it's not up, so I don't want to do it, but who's going to be the rotation? But I'm going to wait till tomorrow. Or tomorrow. I did this Monday. Tonight. It'll happen at some point. You guys know what I mean. Anyways, we're going to take a pick here. It's going to be 1 of 3. So, it's going to be number 1. So, as I said, it's either going to be Illidan, Muradin, or Sonya in that order. And for this one, you are not prepared. I am EctoMaster. I will see you guys next week in another episode of Hero Spotlight. Until then, I will see you guys in the next round. Right.